That's why I asked the question. I'm sorry. Yes.
You have your hands full with 25% now. Is this going to be factored in? And if so, that percentage is going to have to go way up. And if that happens, that means the budget for this department is going to have to go way up. Am I right? And is that going to be possible? I mean, you're going to need many, many, many more inspectors out there.
And if you say, I'm sorry, if you say that, you're also saying that if these students can only work evenings and Saturdays, is that what you're saying? Or on days that they're off school because they have to go to school, then aren't the inspectors out during the week and not evenings and Saturdays? I'm not sure of that. Am I correct in that assumption?
Well, we have gone out on Saturdays. We're not prohibited or restricted from doing a Saturday inspection. And then just recently we have been doing inspections on Saturdays.
Right.
Are these Saturday inspections complaint driven or are they routine? What is the percentage of complaint?
I mean, it could be a combination of both, but for the most part, when we do a particular area or county, and we need to go on Saturday, we'll go on Saturday.
Is there a way we can find out what percentage of these, the 25%, what is complaint driven and what is routine?
Yeah, we'd have to get back to you with that.
Sure. And what about evenings? Is that ever?
We have extended our inspections past our normal work hours, if it's necessary.
Just going to Ray's point.
But no, we haven't had any limitations. I mean, we're not going to go at 9 o'clock at night, but if we have to extend it a little bit in the evening, we can do that and have been doing that as well.
And again, I apologize. I don't want it to sound like I don't want this. I think it's a good idea, but at the same time, having spent so many years with students and knowing what conniving little buggers they can be sometimes. I'm sorry, but it's true. I hope this isn't being recorded. I don't want it to come out 10 years from now like Donald Trump says. But at the same time, I know that we all know what students will do, especially teenagers. And I don't know that much about adults, but I also know a lot of times the adults will do what they can do. They're getting paid. I'll work more hours. I won't go back to my home school. I won't do this. I won't do that. And the salon owners, as Anthony or the other man said, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, these students are going to do it because they can and because the salon owners are wanting them to do it. I think I'll be quiet now. I'll be quiet now.
I agree. I just wanted... I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw in just further, I guess, to the point of, I guess, the inspection part of it. The question that was raised the last meeting was, who regulates this? Who actually goes in and monitors? So everything that everyone is saying, I'm in complete agreement with, and I take issue with because, again, working in the school, working with students, having to monitor what they do on a salon floor that I have to manage as a director of the school for services that, okay, you're allowed to do this, you cannot do that, with clients that come in the door. If I can't see them and they're working in a salon with the salon owner, I don't know what they're going to be doing. So for me to put green light on, okay, well, you're approved for my school to go and work in this salon and do blase, and I trust that this salon owner is going to do, whatever with you, and you're going to be paid X, Y, and Z. It's just not going to work to the advantage, I think, of the student or the school. I've had students that actually were working under the table in salons, and they were great, and they got called out to do shows and other things, and it was much harder for them to then graduate and come back and finish. I know plenty of people that are working in industry now, and they don't have licenses because they didn't go back and finish because they got caught up in that world. That's great. It's out there for them, but I think they should get caught up in that once they get the license and they're legal to actually do it.
I agree.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll meet again on this, and in the meantime, if you could provide me via email reply to copy that I sent to you about whether your concerns, whether you're against it, what would help you maybe be in favor of the program, or
and Denise, you want those directed? You want those directed to you? Yes.
please.
Okay. I agree with Michael. We're putting a lot of trust in the salon owners of New York State. And just from history, I don't trust them. I'm being honest.
Almost trust the kids more sometimes.
Yeah.
They better not be taping this. That's all I have to say. All of this.
All meetings are recorded and live on our website and then put on YouTube.
I don't think anybody would disagree with us, I have to say.
Right, and I just wanted to make it clear too that the certification is only good while they're enrolled in a cosmetology program. If they leave the program, we cancel the certification. At least that's the way we're putting forth the proposal.
How do we track that, Denise? How do we find
I
that
think the
out?
schools tell us they left the program and then it's canceled, because I don't think we can put that on, the student's probably not going to tell us,
Right.
and the salon's not going to tell us. So if they were to leave the school, they would be a lot more limited in what they could do. They wouldn't be able to shampoo. I mean, they would basically have a job as a receptionist, right?
I'm sorry, one last question. And you did say that the school has the option to participate or not to, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, or the salon.
That's correct.
Okay.
We don't have to get a license.
Right, it's all
Thank you.
optional. Sure. Okay.
Okay.
If there's no further questions, I think we're good on that.
Yeah.
I think I have something to clarify. I don't know if it's a question or just a clarification. The department,
Excuse me.
what's that? This is going to be overseen by the Department of State. Yet anything to do with education and hours is SED. So we've got two hats going on here. And how is that going to coordinate? How are they going to coordinate this? I mean, who's
Same way
when
they do now.
the student's in the salon, SED is on the picture, is that correct?
There's some, they're still under the rules and regulations policies of the schools.
School.
So that is SED in a sense. But as far as hours, that's all Department of State.
Yeah, I think we have to clarify, this is a precursor, if the board's in favor of it, the department wishes to go ahead, it's a precursor to a legislative proposal. All right, we're not going to be granting licenses without legislation to enable us to do so. So you're going to see, if this goes forward, you're going to see legislation which far more clearly defines exactly what is required and exactly how the program is going to be administered. Then SED would develop its coursework and its procedures, as it always does, in consequence of a new license application, of a new license discipline. So there you go. So this is very early in the process, and I think that the department is simply seeking perspective, which they're getting now in spades, as to whether this is a proposal which ought to go forward for development or not.
Then we'll move on.
Yes.
Okay. Then on to new business and ventilation regulations and industry update from Dan Shapiro.
Well, October 3rd was a big date. I assume you folks know that was the date that, at least for new businesses, the ventilation requirements would apply. So thus a license issued on or after October 3rd as a condition of licensure that the ventilation systems would be in place. That, of course, is for nail providers, nail salons. I understand the department has had several meetings with industry representatives prior to this, and perhaps intends to continue.
Yeah.
Trying to spread the word, the regulations, a little missive describing what the requirements are. It's on our website, has been on our website. The only other thing of note that I have for you is that a challenge has been issued judicially, a lawsuit, seeking the precision of the regulation. Folks sought a TRO, temporary restraining order, to prevent the regulations from going into effect. That was defeated. So these regulations are in full effect, and I imagine will be enforced. Folks who were licensed prior to October 3rd have 5 years from the October 3rd date to have a system in place. I know that in the course of our inspections and in the course of our instructive materials, our emails, and our website, we'll be posting materials and trying to help people to come to compliance. That's what I got.
That was good.
Okay.
Any comments, questions, thoughts?
I'm just concerned about how it's going to be enforced, just because even now, like, there's very little enforcement in nail salons. And then even at, like, depending on the location of the nail salon, they might be limited into how they can, if they can even build a ventilation system into their building.
There's instructions on our website that are helping, that you can use to give to an installer for this. I don't know. I know that this was done in Boston and some other places, and we looked at that, how they did it, and they, have been successful in this implementation. We're giving existing businesses 5 years to do it, to find a way to do it, to work with the installers, to get a mechanism to actually get this ventilation in place. So, we're working with the industry. We're trying to help them comply. There's been a new code rule for buildings that became effective also October 3rd, and it kind of tied into that for new buildings. So it's a work in progress, but we're going to be out there enforcing and making sure that new businesses have this, and the existing businesses, we're going to give them information to help them come into compliance.
I have a question. Is it required in New York State, I know it is in New Jersey, is it required that before you open your doors with new construction that it has to be inspected by the state before they can get approved or open for business?
Not necessarily in this situation, not by the state, but by the local code enforcement official for the jurisdiction that we're speaking of. But yeah, there's a building code that attaches to new construction and or substantial alteration of existing construction, and the building code applies.
Okay, and then the building code is aware of what you guys have made into law or requirement.
Yes, in fact, we take from the building code in order to set forth the requirements.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else on that? So next to public comment period for anybody, the public that's joined us. Is there anybody that has anything they'd like to share, comment?
I have a question now. Maybe I missed this. The ventilation requirements. The schools, will they be required to have the same ventilation? I mean, they're teaching nail technology.
That's funny. That's what I was going to talk to you guys about. That was the meeting I was going to talk to you about. After the meeting, I was
Good. I won't answer that question. You're not a licensee, but that's a whole.
I mean, we do go. I mean, as BPSS, of course, we do go to the schools and make sure that they meet the building requirements and whatnot, and that wherever they're teaching is up to code, and so.
That was a question that we were going to talk about, like some of our site instances that we're using schools to see, where you guys were headed with, trying to meet some of those requirements.
Right.
Okay.
Was there an answer to that question? I'm sorry, we didn't hear it.
That's something that's under discussion. That is something that, we're going to take aside and talk to SCD about, who regulate the schools, and we'll, report back to the board on that.
Okay.
I have a question. My name is Vince Farrar. I'm from the New York State Beauty School Association. In reference to the shampoo assistant certification, we're talking about putting students in salons without being fully qualified to really work in a salon. Do we think that that's going to impact job availability for graduates of the full program that can do that? I know that I'm also a school owner, and I know that a number of my areas that are inner city schools, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of salons that have unlicensed workers there that are not hiring graduates because unlicensed workers are cheaper. I'm curious if any thought was given to that. And also, has anyone proposed an alternative, like possibly allowing our students after 700 hours or so to work in internship programs? Or I know there's an early licensing initiative out there that may solve the same problems that we're trying to achieve here.
Is it just in relation to putting unlicensed people out there? The nail traineeship is doing just that with dangerous chemicals. We're talking about just shampooing here. I understand your concerns about the somebody early on in the program possibly taking away a position, but a salon would in fact hire somebody who's fully licensed over a trainee because they can do everything. The shampoo assistant, and we added the word shampoo in there to let people know it is only for shampooing, that's all they can do, and reception duties, that's it. So, there's salons I don't think would, and they have to pay prevailing wages, they have to follow all Department of Labor regulations, wage and hour division regulations, workers' compensation, all that stuff, so.
I think we're in a terrible quandary with this. I mean, we're really in a very awkward position because the plus of it is the benefits to the students, the opportunity to get out in the job, to see if in the job field, to see if they really like it, to gain the experience. But at the same time, the flip side of what we're dealing with from the profession as a whole is unlicensed, unqualified people performing treatments that they shouldn't be. I mean, all the way back to what Ray Ann brought up about the two-tier license, and what about licensed estheticians doing things? How are we going to regulate that? Well, my goodness, these are people with licenses. So now we're looking at taking individuals that are still in school that have only 100 and so hours of education. Are we setting ourselves up for putting them in a bad position, being asked what they have to do, and having an impact on the profession as a whole? We're trying to raise the bar, we're trying to do the right thing, put qualified people out there that are doing a great job. Personally, I'm stuck, because I see from getting the students out there and getting them jobs and giving them opportunities, but we're struggling with adequately regulating the people that have licenses as it is. How are we going to add more to our plates? I don't know what the answer is.
I have a question too. Do the schools encourage the students to go out and try to get a job in the salons as a receptionist, just to kind of get your foot in the door somewhere? Because currently they can do that, right? As long as they don't touch a client, you can act as a receptionist or cleaning up.
As a receptionist, that would be one thing as a receptionist, but not as a shampoo technician. So yes, we would encourage that, but that's being a receptionist. I have one other question, I guess, to add to Mr. Ferrara's point. He asked, had anyone given any thought to maybe a different approach, as in more so when a student is at a senior level and they have reached approximately 700 or maybe even 900 hours and they're about to graduate. Have you guys thought about that? More so working in line with, at that point they would have accomplished a lot in the program, and maybe that would be a compromise or, of sorts.
You would have to outline the hours then, and that's fine. But just keep in mind that the public schools, the senior hours, the kids become seniors at 500 hours. So you would, if you wanted 700 hours, you'd have to say 700 hours, not senior level.
So this is more in line with the BOCES program with the public school setting type of.
Well, if you're talking senior hours, yes. But
okay.
You mentioned senior hours and then you mentioned hours. You would have to, or senior level as opposed to hours. You would have to set it at however many hours is decided upon that the student has to complete before they can do this. You just can't say senior level is what I'm cautioning, because senior
Right.
level to a public school is 500 hours.
Okay.
I have a thought about, instead of the salons, and this is just winging it, we have schools that are available, that are licensed, they're inspected, they have curriculums that are approved, contracts, everything that you can imagine goes through three bureaucracies, the state, the accrediting commission, and the feds. We have all these facilities for these students to come in and do whatever they want to do. We have clinics that are like salons, probably run more professional than a lot of salons. I'm just wondering if we could work with that some.
From the public standpoint, a lot of public schools do not have active clinics anymore.
That's why I'm saying we do.
Students coming, right.
You
guys
saying
did.
you could send the students to his salons.
Transportation, high school students becomes an issue.
But
How are you going to transport them to the salon?
It's not during the school day, it's in the afternoon while the salons are still open after their school hours, which is like 2:30 till 6 o'clock or whatever.
I'd like to just build onto that idea. That's a good point.
I'm confused. Maybe because I'm all alone back here. I'm all alone. I'm confused as to then the students would be at the school doing the clinic. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, their problem is they have no clinic experience when they are
They
graduating.
have some.
Right. So then who's going to monitor that? The instructors?
I think that would be a little bit more, I think that would be better than a salon owner doing it.
So if you're going to do that, then get back to it. Okay, let's play this out. So after a certain amount of time and after a certain hour, we're going to have a clinic at our school. And if you want to come to this clinic at our school, the students are going to be here and you can get your hair done, and a teacher is going to be there. A licensed instructor is going to be there. Is that where we're going?
I'm just starting. This is just off the top of my head, but something to think about.
Who's going to pay the teacher?
Who's going to pay all these inspectors that are going to be needed?
The inspectors are getting paid by the state. The teachers would have to get paid by the school district.
And who pays
Correct.
the student?
And then I'm sorry. And then the school would have to stay open, right? Later on in the day, and so consequently if the school was open, then someone would have to be there to lock up, which would be custodial. Only because I worked in one, that's where I'm going with this. I think that's opening a large can of worms. And I like the idea, but I see what you're saying. Some of the schools have an evening clinic. If they have a clinic, sometimes they'll say, okay, we'll be open one night a week or one time, and the schools take turns. But then a lot of times in the winter, most of the BOCES are in rural areas. Am I not correct, Cheryl?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're in rural areas, so there's the transportation, and then, I know the driveways have to be plowed, and you got to shovel because the people might come in their wheelchair, and there's just a lot. But continue with it.
Well, I'm just, like I said, I'm just shooting from the hip. This is very new.
Right.
I would just like to work around that and see if that feels.
I guess I have one more question.
Where the money would come from, they wouldn't be eligible for any kind of financial aid at all.
No. And then who's going to pay the student? Somebody said, "Hey, who's going to?"
Well, I can't. Paying students for any reason is, I don't know. That's a whole other issue.
Michael, do you have a statement, comment?
Question? I guess my question was who's going to pay the student. I think that was the point of you guys putting the program together, if I'm correct, so that they could actually get in the workforce. So if I understand what he's saying, but I guess looking at it, if they're coming to the school, I can't really see me going to my school owner saying, can you pay them to work, I guess.
I think we need a lot more talking about this before we do any more. A lot more.
I think Denise will have a lot of emails.
Yeah. I don't know whether we can expand and the subcommittee members, if anyone else is interested, I certainly thank you for your time. And once you were a great devil's advocate, Rayanne.
You're not going to invite me to any more of these parties, I can tell.
It was perfect. It was things we needed to think about. So.
Well, like I said, with being there for so long and seeing the students, and then seeing, even when you open up clinic to an evening, or you open up any type, I opened up different types of things that we would do with the students, and they were all going to show up. You'd get 20 that were going to come, and if you got 5, it was a lot. And then what would you wind up doing? So I think we've got to talk more about this before this definitely goes into effect.
I agree.
Good. I'll put something. I'll look forward to your comments on this. And like I said, if anyone else is interested in joining us on a subcommittee meeting, come back in. Let me know.
I'm sorry. I just have one more question. It seems as though that the issue is getting practical experience to the public schools, to the BOCES, because in the private schools we already have clinical experience as part of our curriculum. Why wouldn't it be an easier solution just to revise the BOCES curriculum to have a clinic day, so that they can get the experience that you want them to do in an educational setting, rather than opening it up to salons who have no guidelines for this and are really not going to comply, in my opinion. All of our private schools have clinics already.
The school I was in had 3 instructors, 4 at one time, and all 4 had a clinic. Each had a different day. We had them, and they still do, and I know a lot of the schools do. So I don't know why some of them don't have clinics anymore. I'm not privy to all that information. Cheryl may know that. Do you, Cheryl?
Yes. Some of the clinics in rural areas don't. They have a clinic day, but they may have 30 students and 5 people that come in to get their hair done. So not everybody's getting the clinical experience those hours.
Right.
And in a salon, you're seeing, the students aren't working, but they're seeing advanced procedures that they don't get in the school. And that was part of this as well. They see more that goes on in the salon than happens in the school, so it kind of spurs their interest more and helps them continue on and finish the hours, because then they want to get working in a salon.
So then you're going to get education in areas outside of shampooing. That's what you're telling me.
No, well, they can attend advanced classes for education, certainly. They can now. That has nothing to do with it. They cannot work on a client. They're observing only. And currently, our students that do internships in the public schools, they go in sometimes 30, 35 hours in their senior year over a couple weeks' time. They're observation only. They can't touch a client. They can't even do reception duties at this point in time. They're only observation only. So they're getting that education as an observation only. But this was to benefit them so that they could actually be hired then after doing their internship. A lot of the salons wanted to hire these students because they had good work ethics. They were, good communication skills. They were ready for work, per se, but they couldn't do anything. So the salons aren't going to pay them to stand around. A salon will pay them if they're able to shampoo for them.
Well, then can we go back to the hour requirement as the gentleman in New York City, I don't know his name. As you said, sir, that it would just be seniors or students that had like 900 hours that would do this, so that if they had their 900 hours, they got this job, they liked it, the salon liked them when they got their 1,000 hours, then they could stay there and work full time instead of giving them this at 105 hours or 120.
Yeah, I would be more in favor of something like that.
I'm sorry.
At 900, they're at the end of the program. That would be, that's, I think, too much. The students don't need to know, to shampoo a head of hair. They don't need to know all of that, but, 600 hours, 700 hours would be fine. But 900 hours, why bother at all? They're only, short time away from the full program.
I think there's still a lot of discussion, and we'll just, suggestions and recommendations shoot to Denise would be great via email.
Okay.
I agree.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you.
Any other comments before we adjourn? I have one. Sharon informed me. We have, our responsibility as a board is to meet one more time before the end of the year. And I know we're very close to the end of the year, and it's a little tricky with holidays and everything else going on. But Sharon's doing her best to try to schedule something. A couple of dates that were thrown out were November 21st, November 30th, third week of December. So just food for thought for everybody. Think about.
I'll be reaching out to the board and sending some dates, so if you could respond as quickly, because we're coming to the end of the year, let me know if those dates are acceptable, because we have to coordinate with staff and, meeting rooms as well.
Right.
Will we try to have another one of the committee meetings for the shampoo assistant certification before that meeting, do you think?
I think we should.
Okay.
Before this next.
Before the next board meeting, yes, because,
Correct.
yeah, we'll want to follow up on
All right.
some of the concerns.
Okay. I guess we ask for a motion to adjourn. A second?
A second.
All right. The meeting is adjourned. Thank
All
you
in
very
favor,
much.
say aye.
Aye.